In microeconomic theory, consumer surplus and producer surplus are measures of the economic welfare derived by consumers and producers, respectively, from participating in a market exchange. They quantify the net benefit accruing to each party beyond the bare minimum required for them to engage in the transaction. Consumer surplus. The consumer's gain from trade. Consumer surplus represents the difference between the total amount consumers are willing to pay for a given quantity of a good or service and the total amount they actually pay. It captures the net benefit consumers receive from purchasing the good at the prevailing market price. Formally, consumer surplus CS can be expressed as CS equals integral D of Q minus P dQ, where D of Q equals inverse demand function representing the maximum price consumers are willing to pay for quantity Q. P equals market price of the good. The integral is evaluated from 0 to the quantity traded in the market, Q. Graphically, consumer surplus is represented by the area below the demand curve and above the market price, up to the quantity traded. Intuitive interpretation. The demand curve reflects the marginal willingness to pay of consumers. For each unit purchased, the difference between the consumer's willingness to pay, as indicated by the demand curve, and the market price represents the surplus gained on that unit. Summing these surpluses across all units purchased yields the total consumer surplus. Producer surplus. The producer's gain from trade. Producer surplus represents the difference between the total revenue producers receive for selling a given quantity of a good or service and the total cost of producing that quantity. It captures the net benefit producers receive from selling the good at the prevailing market price. Formally, producer surplus PS can be expressed as PS equals integral PS of Q dQ, where P equals market price of the good. S of Q equals inverse supply function, representing the minimum price producers are willing to accept for quantity Q. The integral is evaluated from 0 to the quantity traded in the market, Ca Q. Graphically, producer surplus is represented by the area above the supply curve and below the market price, up to the quantity traded. Intuitive interpretation. The supply curve reflects the marginal cost of production for producers. For each unit sold, the difference between the market price and the producer's marginal cost, as indicated by the supply curve, represents the surplus gained on that unit. Summing these surpluses across all units sold yields the total producer surplus. Example, numerical. Let's assume the following simplified linear demand and supply functions. Demand, P equals 10Q. Supply, P equals 2 plus Q. To find the market equilibrium, set demand equals supply. 10 minus Q equals 2 plus Q. 8 equals 2Q. Q equals 4. Equilibrium quantity. Substitute Q equals 4 into either equation to find the equilibrium price. P equals 10 minus 4 equals 6. Consumer surplus 1/2, 10 to 6, 4 equals 8. Producer surplus 1/2, 6 to 2, 4 equals 8. Significance and applications. Consumer and producer surplus are fundamental concepts in welfare economics. They are used to analyze the efficiency of market outcomes. Competitive markets tend to maximize total surplus, CS plus PS. Evaluate the impact of government interventions, e.g., taxes, subsidies, price controls, on welfare. These interventions often create deadweight loss, a reduction in total surplus. Assess the distributional effects of market changes, i.e., how changes in prices or quantities affect the well-being of consumers and producers. Key considerations. The magnitude of consumer and producer surplus depends on the elasticity of demand and supply. The concept of surplus assumes that individuals are rational and act to maximize their own well-being. In more complex models, consumer and producer surplus can be used to analyze welfare in dynamic settings and with multiple markets.